The organ music swelled through St. Aurelius Cathedral, and I could barely breathe. My bare feet were bleeding from running 3 miles on pavement. My dress, if you could call it that, was torn at the hem, and every eye in that massive church was about to land on me like a spotlight I never asked for. I pushed through the heavy oak doors. "Please don't marry her." My voice cracked, too loud, too desperate. "She's lying. This wedding will ruin you." The music stopped. Just stopped, like someone had pulled a plug on the entire universe. Guards in black suits moved toward me fast, their hands already reaching, but I was faster. I ran down that aisle, my feet slapping against cold marble, and I grabbed Daniel Cross's hand before anyone could stop me. His hand was warm, steady. He didn't pull away. "Sir, we'll remove her immediately," one of the guards said, gripping my shoulder hard enough to bruise. "Wait." Daniel's voice was quiet, but it cut through everything. "Let her go." The guard hesitated. "Mr. Cross, this is clearly—" I said, "Let her go." The hand on my shoulder disappeared. I looked up at Daniel Cross, this man I'd only seen in newspapers and on the HavenLight Trust website when I used the library computers. He was tall, maybe 40-something, with gray at his temples and eyes that looked like they'd seen some things but hadn't gone cold yet. "What's your name?" he asked me. "Mara." My voice sounded so small in that huge space. "Mara, why are you here?" Before I could answer, she spoke. Vivienne Hale, the bride, all white silk and perfect makeup, with a smile that didn't reach anywhere near her eyes. "Daniel, sweetheart, this poor child is clearly confused. Perhaps she's having some kind of episode." She looked at the crowd, performing sympathy like she'd rehearsed it. "Someone call social services. She needs help." "I don't need help from you," I said, and my hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped my phone. "I need to show him what you really are." Vivienne's smile froze, just for a second, but I saw it. "This is absurd," she said, voice sharper now. "Daniel, our guests are waiting. We can handle this child's delusions after—" "2 weeks ago," I interrupted, because if I stopped talking, I'd lose my nerve completely. "You were in the back room of this cathedral, the vestry. It was late, maybe 11 at night. You thought nobody was there. I have no idea what— You were with your lawyer, Richard something, and a woman with short red hair who kept talking about offshore accounts." I looked at Daniel, not her. "I was sleeping behind the confessionals. I heard everything." The cathedral went so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. Daniel's face changed. Not angry. Worse. Careful. "What did you hear, Mara?" "She's going to take everything from you." The words tumbled out. "The hotels, the cafes, the construction company, but mostly the HavenLight Trust. She has documents ready, power of attorney stuff, financial authority. Once you sign, she's moving it all offshore. She called you predictable and said your charity was a sentimental leak." Someone in the crowd gasped. Vivienne's face went white, then red. "This is slander," she hissed. "This is— Daniel, you cannot possibly believe—" "Do you have proof?" Daniel asked me. His voice was still quiet, but something had shifted in it. Something dangerous. My hands were shaking so badly I almost couldn't unlock my phone. The screen was cracked, the battery at 8%, but when I pressed play, Vivienne's voice filled the cathedral, crystal clear. "Once he signs the marriage certificate, I have spousal authority. The trust documents are already drafted." A man's voice, the lawyer probably. "And the liquidation timeline?" 6 months maximum. The foundations fold first, too much overhead, too little return. The real assets get consolidated under the Cayman Holding Company. "And if he objects?" Vivienne's laugh was cold, sharp. "He won't. Daniel Cross is predictable. His father taught him that loyalty is strength. He'll see this as partnership until it's too late. I pressed stop. The silence was suffocating. Daniel turned to Vivienne slowly. Partnership, he said. Is that what you called it? That recording is fabricated. Her voice was high now, panicked. Anyone can. Technology these days. That's your voice, Vivienne. It's taken out of context. I was discussing hypotheticals, worst-case scenarios with my legal team. That's what lawyers do. You called my charity a sentimental leak. Daniel, you laughed when you said my father taught me loyalty was a weakness. That's not what I... She reached for his arm. He stepped back. The crowd was murmuring now, phones out, recording everything. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. You won't believe where this goes next. Daniel looked at the officiant, the guests, the cameras. There will be no wedding today. Vivienne's mask shattered completely. You're going to believe some homeless brat over me? Look at her, Daniel. She's probably on drugs, probably delusional. I lived behind the cathedral for 3 months, I said, and I wasn't shaking anymore. Father Marcus brings me food on Tuesdays. I sleep in the storage room where they keep the old hymnals. I'm not on drugs, I'm just hungry, and I heard what I heard. Daniel knelt down in front of me. His tux probably cost more than I'd ever owned in my life, and he was kneeling on marble, looking at me like I was a person, a real person. You came here to save me, he said. I came here to save the trust. My voice cracked. My mom used to take me to the food bank you fund, before she got sick, before... I couldn't finish. Those kids need that food bank. The families need the shelter. I couldn't let her destroy it. He stood up and turned to the crowd. Security, please escort Ms. Hale and anyone associated with her legal team to a separate room. Do not let them leave. I'm calling the police. You can't do this, Vivienne shrieked. You're ruining everything over some street child's fairy tale. Richard Chen, Daniel called out. A thin man in the third row froze. You were her attorney on this, correct? The man didn't answer, but his face did. That's him, I said. He was in the vestry. Richard stood up fast, heading for the side exit. 2 security guards blocked him before he made it 5 steps. Nobody leaves, Daniel said. His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Not until the police arrive. Vivienne was crying now, mascara running, the perfect bride dissolving into something desperate and ugly. I loved you, she sobbed. I did, I swear, this was just insurance. It was just protection in case things went wrong. You called me predictable. Daniel's voice was flat. You said my father's lessons made me weak. You planned to steal from homeless families and abandoned children. He looked at her like she was a stranger. I don't know who you are. I don't think I ever did. The police arrived faster than I expected. Sirens outside, heavy boots on marble. Vivienne tried to run then, heels clicking wildly, but she didn't make it past the second pew. I watched them put handcuffs on her. Richard, too. A woman with short red hair tried to blend into the crowd, but someone pointed her out. Daniel stood beside me the whole time, not touching me, just there. When the police wanted my statement, he said, She's 12 years old and she's been through enough. Send a child advocate to my office tomorrow. Tonight, she needs food and rest. Sir, we need to verify her claims. You have the recording. You have witnesses who saw the attorney try to flee. You have Ms. Hale's reaction on camera. He looked at the officer. Mara stays with me tonight. I should have been scared. I should have run. But I was so tired, and his voice was so steady, and for the first time in months, I felt like maybe the world wasn't entirely made of people who didn't see me. If you're still watching this, hit that like button, because what happens next changed everything. The guests left in clusters, whispering, filming, already posting to social media. By the time we walked out of the cathedral, #crosswedding was trending. The cameras caught everything. Vivienne screaming in the police car, me standing next to Daniel in my torn dress, the empty altar where a marriage was supposed to happen. Daniel drove a normal car, not a limo, just a black sedan with leather seats and a crack in the rearview mirror. "Are you hungry?" he asked. I was always hungry, but I just nodded. He took me to a diner, not a fancy restaurant, a 24-hour place with cracked vinyl booths and a waitress named Donna who called everyone Hun. He ordered pancakes, eggs, bacon, orange juice, and didn't say anything when I ate like I hadn't seen food in a week. Because I almost hadn't. "Where are your parents, Mara?" he asked quietly. "Mom died 14 months ago. Cancer." The pancakes turned to dust in my mouth. "I don't know who my father is. She never told me." "Foster care?" "Tried it. The first place was okay. The second place..." I couldn't say it. I ran. He didn't push, he just nodded. "You can't go back to the cathedral storage room." I know. I'd known the second I ran down that aisle that my safe space was gone. "I'll figure something out." "I have a guest house," he said. 2 bedrooms, separate from the main house. It's empty right now. I looked at him. Really looked at him. "Why would you do that?" "Because you saved my life tonight. Because you're 12 years old and you deserve better than a storage room. Because..." He stopped. "My father died when I was 17. Car accident, overnight shift, driving home too tired. I know what it's like when the world forgets you exist." "I'm not charity," I said. "Good. I don't want charity cases. I want people who tell the truth, even when it's hard." He met my eyes. "You risked everything tonight to tell me the truth. That's not charity. That's courage." I started crying then. Not loud, just tears running down my face into my pancakes, and I couldn't stop them. Daniel handed me a napkin, looked away, gave me space to break. "You don't owe me gratitude," he said. "Just honesty. Can you do that?" "Yes." "Then we'll start there." The guest house had a real bed, white sheets, a lamp, a bathroom with a door that locked from the inside. Daniel left me there with a bag of groceries, a phone charger, and a business card with his number. "Call if you need anything," he said. "I'm in the main house. You're safe here." I locked the door after he left, turned on every light, checked the windows twice. Then I stood in the bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror. My face was dirty, hair matted, eyes too old for 12. I turned on the shower and stood under the water until it ran clear. Leave a comment below about what you think Mara should do next. Trust Daniel or run? Your responses help shape these stories. The next morning, Daniel knocked at 9 a.m. with breakfast and a woman he introduced as Patricia Chen, a family lawyer. "Not related to Richard," she said quickly. "I help with adoptions, guardianship, child welfare cases." "I'm not asking you to adopt me," I told Daniel. "I know, but you need legal protection, school enrollment, medical care." He sat down across from me. "I'm asking if you'd be willing to let me help, officially." "Why?" "Because Vivienne was right about one thing." He smiled, sad and tired. "My father did teach me that loyalty matters, that protecting people weaker than you isn't weakness, it's the whole point." Patricia explained the process. Temporary guardianship, background checks, court appearances. It would take months. "What if you change your mind?" I asked Daniel. "I won't." "Everyone says that." "Then I'll be the one who means it." I signed the papers with hands that didn't shake. 3 months later, I started school, Real school, not the on and off attendance I'd managed before. Daniel hired a tutor for the stuff I'd missed, bought me clothes that fit, took me to a doctor who said I was malnourished but would be fine. The HavenLight Trust expanded. Vivienne's trial made national news. Fraud, attempted embezzlement, conspiracy. She got 6 years. Richard got 4. Daniel never dated again, at least not while I was there. On my 13th birthday, he asked if I wanted to make the guardianship permanent. Like adoption? I asked. If you want that word, or just family. I thought about my mom, about the storage room, about running down that aisle in bare feet, terrified and sure nobody would listen. Family, I said. He smiled. Good. That night we had cake in the guest house, just the 2 of us, no cameras, no crowd, just a girl who'd been invisible and a man who'd chosen to see her. Thank you, I said. For what? For listening. Thank you, he said, for telling the truth. 5 years later, I stood outside St. Aurelius Cathedral in a blue dress and real shoes. Daniel waited by his car, patient as always, while I looked up at the stained glass windows. I'd spoken at 3 schools that month about the HavenLight Trust, about what it meant to be seen, about how power without conscience corrodes everything it touches, about how family isn't blood, it's belief. Daniel called my name. I walked toward him, no longer running, no longer afraid. The cathedral bells rang behind us. This time, they sounded like home. If this story moved you, subscribe for more. Share it with someone who needs to remember that one voice can change everything. And comment below, what moment hit you hardest? Because sometimes the smallest person in the room carries the biggest truth. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is listen.